Happy Tuesday, Houston. It's KHOU 11 meteorologist Kim Castro. I'm going to walk you through what to expect for the next 7 days. We're also going to take a pretty detailed look at the tropics. And a little heads up, we are not expecting anything in the Atlantic basin, but the Pacific is really active. And I want to show it to you because, well, it's summertime and we may be planning trips to Mexico that might be on the Pacific side. I won't show it to you all the time, but this particular storm that is brewing does have my attention. Okay, here's a snapshot of the rain chances for you over the next 5 days. Today's a 30% chance for a couple of scattered storms in the afternoon, much more isolated as we go into our Wednesday. Thursday, I raised the rain chances a little bit and then drop them back off for Friday and Saturday. Notice none of these go to or above 50%. And so they're not going to be widespread rain events. These are just going to be your afternoon garden variety pop-up shower. Some of these will have a little bit more gusto. They might be a little louder with some thunder and some lightning, but all in all, we're not going to see a ton of accumulation, certainly much more scaled back than what we saw last week. Okay, here's a look at radar right now. We are starting to see a couple of those showers be brought in by that sea breeze, seeing that in Matagorda, seeing a little bit of action in Brazoria, but really not much. And then Galveston started to see a few showers wanting to push in, and they've fizzled out for the most part. Maybe there's a lone little burst of rain there for closer to the San Luis and maybe even the Galvez. But that's it. That's it on radar right now. As we go through the afternoon, I think it's possible that we see some more of these storms developing in and around the city center. I think the highest likelihood for that is going to be around 3 to about 6 o'clock. Beyond that, I think the rain chances drop off again, and we have a nice quiet Tuesday evening. So once you're getting off work, I think things could be much more favorable for outdoor activities. Live look outside right now, we definitely have the moisture. Some of it's suspended aloft in the clouds, but you can even see how steamy it is at the ground level, and that signals that it feels hotter than it looks. 91 degrees, that's how it looks. That's the optics, your actual air temperature. But with dew points that are well into the 70s, which measures moisture, anytime you see a dew point at 70, it means it is a tropical air mass. 91 actually feels like 100 degrees at Bush right now. And of course, that breeze coming in out of the south at 11 miles an hour. So right out of that Gulf warm water. Throughout the day, we will see temperatures continue to climb a little bit. So your high actually makes it up to 93 degrees. What is it going to feel like? In the low triple digits through a good chunk of your afternoon. I think they're about 6 or 7. The feeling remains in the triple digits. And then for tonight, you will be a little warmer than where you were yesterday. In fact, by 1, you're still at 81 degrees. I think overnight temps are only going to dip down to the upper 70s. Here's the tropical update I was talking about. So I already kind of gave it away. We are not expecting development over the next 7 days, which is good. We've got a number of different variables that are inhibiting development for us. First, we've got some Saharan dust coming off the west coast of Africa. We've got this big Bermuda high that also suppresses tropical activity. And because the Pacific side is really active, the Atlantic gets more quiet. So here's a look at that storm I told you that had my attention. First and foremost, the Pacific is already on their 5th name on the list. Tropical storm Eric has formed. It is so far just at 45 miles an hour, but it is expected to intensify into a Category 2 hurricane here coming up soon. Right now, that's infrared satellite that has populated, and you can see it is a pretty strong tropical storm. And then once it gets a little bit more organized, that's when it'll start to gain momentum and gain intensity. So sometime between tonight and tomorrow morning, it will become a hurricane, and then by 7 o'clock tomorrow, it's expected to make landfall or get close to that along the Puerto Escondido coastline. And then I wanted to show you this because I don't know if a lot of people vacation at Puerto Escondido, but I do know a lot of people vacation in Acapulco, and I know this because I have vacationed there. So it will continue to bring impacts to the Pacific coastline of Mexico throughout the week and even perhaps into the weekend. So if you are planning to leave with the kids on Thursday or on Friday, this is going to be something to monitor. Now, This is something that does favor the Atlantic side though, and I'll tell you why. When we have Pacific systems, because they are like big heat machines, well, those machines have an exhaust, and when they release some of the air aloft, it creates this wind shear. So it really disrupts the upper level wind and the possibility of development in the Atlantic basin. So because of that and a few other different factors like the dust and like the high, the Atlantic is staying quiet for now. But of course, it is just the very beginning of hurricane season. In fact, we don't usually see activity peak until September 10th. So we have got a long way to go, not to mention the end of hurricane season isn't until the end of November. So lots more time to track the tropics. What else am I tracking closer to home? Well, I'm looking at those isolated storms today. I'm looking at the heat index that peaks over 100 like we talked about. And then really a pretty steady pattern. So this is going to take us all the way through the weekend. So in case you're already curious about what the weekend looks like because you're trying to make plans, it's going to look really similar to what we are watching today. The big feature that is going to be building for us is this ridge of high pressure. So this does two things. First of all, high pressure brings about compressional heating. So the more pressure that's on top of us, the more our temperatures will climb. High pressure also nudges the jet stream to the north, and the jet stream is what brings us our rain chances. So because of that, rain chances will be dropping. So that's the big scale feature. It's all about the heat. Temperatures right now have already climbed area wide. I want to show you the difference between the temperature and the heat index, especially in Galveston. 88 degrees feels like 106. So that is, really, really hot. I mean, a 20-degree temperature discrepancy for what it actually feels like. So humidity plays a big factor in our weather story here in Houston, of course. Actual air temperatures are pretty consistent over the next 3 days. So we go from 93 today to 94 tomorrow, back to 93 on Thursday, and each and every day with a shower chance. But again, because it's below 50%, it's not super significant. So where are the rain chances coming from? Yesterday, we had some good downpours because we had this boundary directly on us. Because today it's in Louisiana, that's where the majority of the action is going to be. Today, we're just going to see an isolated storm passing through. For tomorrow, I think the chance for rain is even less. You'll notice we don't have a boundary to work with. We just have mainly the influence of high pressure. So you'll see a lot of sunshine and plenty of heat. Thursday, we do get the stationary boundary on top of us. So that could be energy mechanism that forces up some of the moisture and does bring us a couple of afternoon storms. But again, really not a ton of rain. So that's a snapshot of today. Let me show you a snapshot of tomorrow because it's even less as far as the rain potential. And then on Thursday, it looks a little bit more active, but not a ton. I think most of us are going to stay sunny and hot. You could see that passing shower, but it's not going to be a washout of a day by any means. And rainfall totals from here through Friday look very manageable. So we're looking at a widespread 1 to 2 inches. Of course, localized areas that get those big downpours are going to see more accumulation, kind of like what we saw yesterday. So there were two big bullseye areas, Siena and Mission Bend, that got 3 to 4 inches. But the big picture, when I widen the view for the 24-hour rainfall total, shows there was a lot of gaps there. There were a lot of gaps. So some of us didn't see rain at all yesterday. We just, saw the darkening of the clouds in the distance. But it is going to be a lot different than what we saw last week. The 5-day rain totals, this graphic takes a second to come to us. Boom, there it goes, because it has a lot of information. This one did bring us some widespread rain with some widespread downpours. So if we go back to even 7 days, that would show even more rain. But so far, the last few days have trended on the drier side. So we're improving on that part of things. The temperature outlook through the end of the month, through at least June 27th, shows we're going to be above average, but the big hot spot is going to be around the Great Lakes all the way to New York. So if you're vacationing from Chicago to New York, plan on shorts, tank tops, flip-flops. That's the forecast there. And if you're trying to escape the rain, if you're just sick of it, honestly, I'm kind of getting to that point. The places to go, West Coast, going to see below average rainfall, and the East Coast too. Wet spots are going to be all along the U.S.-Canada border and the Lone Star State. We are still tracking some storms throughout the next 7 days and even into the extended look. Okay, your temperature forecast, like I said, really consistent. Overnight lows are going to be in the upper 70s to around 80 degrees. Daytime high temperatures, low to mid 90s that feel like the triple digits with the humidity, and a rain chance each and every day. Don't forget, Friday is the first day of summer.